Sick. It's like, yeah.
I can't imagine why human beings would even entertain doing this to another human being.
Trying to make sense of the senseless, you'll remember the shocking video that we showed you first here on CBC News Network. It shows a Canadian man in a wheelchair, Heath Proden, severely beaten in Australia. Heath Proden is recovering now in a Sydney hospital. He has had surgery. According to reports, the 35-year-old is in stable condition following treatment for a fractured skull and deep cuts to his head. Freelance reporter Phil Mercer is in Sydney with the very latest.
We understand that Heath has undergone surgery here in Australia's biggest city today, and his wounds have been pretty severe. Anyone who's seen the video of his assault will understand why this young Canadian man is in such a bad way. He's undergone surgery for a fractured skull and also other deep cuts too. This is a man who was using a wheelchair at the Mount Druitt station in Western Sydney a couple of nights ago. He was set on by two assailants and beaten about the head repeatedly, at times with a metal bar. And we understand from detectives that this assault went on for between 3 and 5 minutes. And detectives here in Australia say that it's one of the most serious cases that they've investigated.
And as we've talked to them, we know that there are two teenagers, two Australian teens who are involved in this assault or alleged to have been involved in this assault. Where does the police investigation stand this morning?
These two teenagers, one is 15 years of age, the other is a year older. They've both appeared before a children's court here in Sydney, charged with grievous bodily harm and robbery. So very serious offences for two young suspects who have been remanded in custody. They have not been granted bail. Interesting to note also, Heather, that a friend of two of these teenage suspects has claimed that there may be mitigating circumstances in this particular case. This friend is saying that these two boys were harassed and were acting in self-defence. So this is another line of inquiry that the detectives will have to work their way through. The police believe that this was a very cowardly attack, and this, of course, is something for the courts to investigate in the fullness of time. And these two Australian teenagers, again, one who's just 15 years of age, are due back in the children's court here in Sydney in the next few weeks.
Phil Mercer, he's a freelance reporter on the story in Sydney, Australia.